Hi, everybody. I'm Brittany Lewis, a breaking news reporter here at Forbes. Joining me now is Florida State Representative Anna Esakamani, who's also running for mayor of Orlando. Representative, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Brittany. It's good to be back.
I think when you're evaluating the first month or so of President Donald Trump's second term, it's hard not to bring up Elon Musk. He is the face of the Department of Government Efficiency, which has been tasked with slashing what they believe is wasteful federal spending. It's hard to overstate just how influential he seems to be. Time magazine even had him on the cover behind the Resolute desk. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has seemingly been inspired by Elon Musk and Doge, and he wants to mirror those efforts in Florida when it comes to local governments and universities in an announcement he made this week. What are your thoughts?
Well, the irony is that Florida has been under Republican control for 30 years. And so if Governor DeSantis is trying to go after inefficiency and fraud, it's really his own administration and his own party who are at fault. And in fact, there's been many examples of Governor DeSantis using public money in ways that are unconstitutional, in ways that are wasteful, in ways that are political when it should be focused on administrative, that we could eliminate easily if he just took action to do so versus try to appeal and please someone like Elon Musk, who is causing havoc across the federal government and across our communities. I don't think mimicking someone like Elon Musk with his laying off and termination of federal workers, with his misinformation about how much money he's, quote, saving, modeling after that is not in the best interest of our state.
I'm curious where you think that Governor Ron DeSantis is wasting money, because he would argue, and he has argued, that he's been doing Doge before Doge even existed. What do you say to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. So, for example, we've spent state money fighting unconstitutional laws in court, often losing those court cases or having to settle with public money because we knew from the very beginning that these policies were not conducive to the state or U.S. Constitution. Governor DeSantis has also spent public money to traffic asylum seekers from the Mexico-American border to Martha's Vineyard and other blue states. He also recently spent millions of dollars in public money, including even some opioid settlement money, to pay for political ads that were funneled through state agencies in opposition to two different ballot initiatives that we had during the 2024 cycle, one for recreational cannabis, the other for reproductive rights. He literally used public money to push out these so-called PSAs that were politically motivated and designed to confuse and mislead voters. Those are just three quick examples of his bloated budget and the ways that he has inappropriately allocated taxpayer money for his own political agenda.
I want to read exactly what he tweeted out about the Doge efforts he says Florida's already made, and then what's next. Here's what he said his administration has done. Quote, 41% state debt reduction and the lowest per capita state debt in America, year-over-year spending cut, an actual cut, not a fictitious DC spending cut, elimination of boards, commissions, and reduction of regulations. Our current push is to abolish an additional 70-plus boards and commissions and eliminate an additional 700-plus positions in state government. Utilizing AI to audit government agencies like the federal Doge is doing will enhance these efforts and perhaps lead to even more savings. What do you think about his plan, his framework to copy the federal version of Doge?
Well, what Governor DeSantis omits is how reliant Florida is on federal funding. So our budget is about 117 some billion dollars. Under his leadership, our budget has increased every single year. So if anything, our government spending has grown under his administration, under Republican control, then shrunk. Now, with that said, the budget comes from three different silos, one of which is federal funding. Nearly a third of Florida's budget is balanced with the help of federal dollars. And if it wasn't for the American Rescue Plan, in particular, alongside CARES Act during COVID-19, we would not have been able to bring down parts of our debt. We needed that federal money to do so. And to ignore that fact is an effort to gain political attention and to basically inflate his ego in the situation versus accept the reality that Florida has a constitutional requirement to create a balanced budget. And it's a legislature that does that, not the governor. But the other concern I want to uplift is the laying off of state employees. Florida already has thousands of vacancies when it comes to state government. And our state government doesn't function very well, especially when it comes to programming that serves the most vulnerable. We have a wait list of 22,000 people with disabilities right now who are waiting for services. There are people with disabilities in our state that die before they're able to ever access services. We also, of course, see major delays with the unemployment system, despite the fact that Florida and right now the United States has a reasonably low unemployment rate. Unfortunately, it did tick up a little bit this past month. We have major delays in someone being able to access their unemployment compensation. And the max that you will ever receive, regardless of how much money you made, is $275 a week, usually only up to 12 weeks. And that small amount of money is still important for that Floridian trying to find a new job. And they might not see it for months because these state agencies are not functioning and are not responsive. So I would argue that we actually need to reevaluate and reinvest in our state agencies to ensure they're responsive to the taxpayer. Because when you pay taxes, you expect at least something in return. Even when it comes to updating a driver's license in Florida, can take weeks, if not months, because of the lack of staff infrastructure to support people in these different situations.
I think that's one of the biggest criticisms of the federal Doge when I talked to members of Congress is that Elon Musk and Doge seemingly are laying people off in a slapdash fashion and then almost being like, oopsies, we cut too much, rehiring people back. And you've even heard stories from various outlets of Republicans who are federal workers saying, hey, I voted for this administration. Some cases I voted for Donald Trump 3 times, and then now I'm being laid off willy-nilly. If you're saying Florida state government can't afford people to be laying off, where are those job cuts coming from?
Well, it's a really fair criticism. And in fact, we have veterans that are losing their jobs right now from the federal government. One of my constituents who is a veteran, served our country, was in the civil service for 4 years. He just started working at the IRS not even a year ago. And he got the call on Friday saying this was his last day, no warning whatsoever. And of course, this is someone who has served our country in incredible ways and should be honored for that. The federal government is one of the largest employers of veterans in the country. And so it is not logical or efficient or effective to be laying off and terminating people without any type of evaluation process or due diligence. And of course, there are so many consequences associated with that decision that impacts all of us. And so that criticism is very fair and very real here in the Sunshine State because we don't have room to make error. Government is supposed to be a resource to help you reach your fullest potential. And so if there's opportunities to eliminate red tape or opportunities to consolidate agencies to reach the same goals, those are worthy debates and conversations to have. But to essentially create problems that look like a hero so that you can then later not only pass major corporate tax breaks alongside privatize what were once public jobs, I don't consider that to be good or smart policy. And let me be clear, especially at the federal government, we are going to see many of these now eliminated jobs just become privatized with government contracts going to friends of the administration, friends of Elon Musk, maybe even Elon Musk himself. And not only is that just corrupt, but it's not going to deliver high quality services and it's going to be more expensive. And we see that time and time again in privatization of basic government services, that results are never going to be to the same level of quality as the public sector was doing, but the cost will definitely be more.
I'm thinking of the political makeup of Florida right now and how it's gotten more red, more supporters of Donald Trump from 2016 to 2020 than 2024. Ron DeSantis, his first election, he barely squeaked in. Second election, he won handily. I'm curious, do you think that this is a moment for Democrats? Because when you're thinking about someone's job, someone's livelihood, and then he's talking about these cuts, do you think that this is a moment for Democrats to say, to make an appeal to those people and to Florida voters?
100%. I mean, I think it's important to note 2 dynamics right now in the Sunshine State. One is that there is tension between Governor DeSantis and the legislature. And we haven't had checks and balances in Florida government for decades. And so it's refreshing to finally see at least some sense of tension and independence between the legislative branch and the executive branch, where we as lawmakers are finally challenging the executive branch more than in the past. Of course, the appeal is to be more like President Trump. So for me as a Democrat, I don't find that to be a race. I find it to be a race to the bottom, not a race in a direction that's going to be positive for our constituents. But needless to say, the tension between the two branches of government helps to at least create an environment for there to be compromise, for there to be discussion and debate, and hopefully harm reduction. Now, with that said, as Democrats, we do have a clear path to provide a contrast and to stand up for the workers who are being impacted in this way. President Trump bragged on the campaign trail of being a man of the people and of appealing to workers. And here he is actively firing and laying off civil servants with no reasoning being provided, including his own supporters. So it is an opportunity, not for those of us who voted for Vice President Harris to say, I told you so, though I know it's tempting to do that. It is an opportunity to say, you deserve better, and this does not have to be the future of our politics. And we have to leverage that by being unapologetically bold and brave in our advocacy, but also providing policy solutions that can address some of the concerns that people are facing, like housing affordability, like corporate consolidation, like the need to access healthcare. We need to provide that proactive vision while also, of course, holding the line in calling out the chaos being created at the federal level.
And one of the driving factors getting people out to vote for Donald Trump was the economy. One of your colleagues, Representative Tiffany Esposito, said that the Florida Doge efforts will save money. It will also cut red tape for businesses and then in turn save money for them. You're shaking your head pretty vigorously. Talk to us, respond to that.
Yeah, Florida has already done a lot of work in cutting red tape. This is what frustrates me, is it's a lot of platitudes and talking points. So give me an actual example of what you're doing, because I want to know. So I have a bill filed for small business disruption assistance, because here in the state of Florida, because we're growing so fast, we have major construction projects that are cutting through neighborhoods, that are impeding access to small businesses and to neighborhoods. Very real, bipartisan or nonpartisan, I should say, issue that impacts all of our small businesses. That has nothing to do with red tape. That has to do with the need to improve our infrastructure while also mitigating the harm that causes for small businesses. It's a good bill, but it doesn't get, of course, the same type of headlines and attention because we're not branding it, as something that Elon Musk would support. But it frustrates me because I feel like we have real good policy and real good issues that are apolitical to solve. Then we get caught up, right, in this partisan rhetoric, and you're just talking platitudes. It's literally a word salad. And I would argue that constituents are really frustrated by that. They're annoyed by politicians who just sing random words in a sentence, that sound smart. And then meanwhile, when it comes to actually just making your life better, just making it easier for you to interact with government or to get your tax return back, or for you to get your visa update, or for you to get your driver's license update, or for you to get to work on time because, of the traffic around you. Like, these basic everyday problems don't get solved because we're too distracted by, the political rhetoric. And I just find that to be incredibly disappointing and frustrating.
Representative, my last question to you, I just want to switch topics really quickly. The Florida gubernatorial race has been in the news. Representative Byron Donalds officially announced he is running. President Donald Trump did endorse him. Other names being floated around are former Congressman Matt Gaetz, as well as Florida First Lady Casey DeSantis. What do you think about the field and how it's shaping up so far?
Well, it's what I predicted. I always predicted that there would be, basically in the Republican nominees, a DeSantis candidate and a Trump candidate. And I think that's what it will be. And there's been some maneuvering already, of both President Trump and Governor Ron DeSantis giving appointments out to other potential nominees to kind of put them in different places to clear the field. And so I would not be surprised if the Republican debate is between Casey DeSantis and Byron Donalds, two individuals that, again, have the backing of two different factions, if you will, within the Republican Party in Florida. But I think without a doubt, the Trump nominee takes it. I just do not see how the individual endorsed by Donald Trump wouldn't win in any Republican primary at this point, especially in a state like Florida. With that said, on the Democratic side, though no one has officially thrown their hat in the ring, there are plenty of names who are pursuing it, including our minority leader, Fentress Driscoll from Tampa. There's been Senator Jason Pizzo and Senator Chevron Jones as other names listed as well. I'm sure there will be additional candidates out in the field, but I think it's naive for me to say as a Democrat that our path would be clear or easy. I mean, the voter registration numbers in Florida, due to not just the influx of conservative voters coming to our state with the appeal of a conservative governor, but also election purges have led to many inactive voters being eliminated from the voter file. And that has dramatically impacted the number of Democrats who have been registered in the state. And the MPA population, a party affiliation, has only grown. So any Democratic candidate is really going to have to build a rainbow coalition to appeal to very different types of voters. And I have no doubt that it's possible, but it will be very hard. And of course, me running for mayor of Orlando, that race is in 2027. So I'm very focused on serving my city. I'll do what I can to, of course, hold the line in the legislature for my final 2 years and to help support whoever the Democratic nominee is running for governor.
Well, there's certainly a lot that remains to be seen, both from the Florida Doge efforts as well as the gubernatorial race. Best of luck to you in the mayoral race, and I hope you can come back on and join me and break down all of this as it continues to shake out. Thank you so much for joining me once again.
Thank you for having me. I look forward to that. Appreciate you.